when I saw it, I didn't realise it was actually the set from kind of beginning to end, and there was very little chopping or editing or kind of playing around with the Chemical Brothers set as it was, because I don't know why, but it felt like too neat and tidy. It felt like you must have had to done some work to make everything flow into each other. But it is actually quite. It's the set from beginning to end, isn't it? And do you want to say something about that process in the studio?
Yeah, I mean it's the set that was toured for the year, and you know the bit in the middle when you sort of go off with brilliant Mario, who's also here tonight, who was amazing, and when you go off with her, that's the music that's being played live. So the whole set, and I think you know, Tom and Ed were like, oh, there's some ropey bits in there, you know, there's some. But because it's live, you know, and it's going to be different every night, and but that's the set that went out live, and I think the thing is that because I guess there wasn't an album to promote, Tom and Ed were really able to just pick from their amazing back catalogue and some amazing new songs to make what I think it's the best set that's you've ever done, really. I can see Tom, I'm a bit worried about upsetting him.
So let me just ask one last one, and I think I should try and draw Mark in. And how does it feel for you to be kind of involved, so intimately involved with, and then to actually sit in a theatre and see that kind of powerful cinematic experience? How does that feel?
Well, the process of it is like a culmination of over a few years. So you don't ever think that it's going to end up the way it looks. I mean, and you're doing stuff wearing these like gimp suits with lights on it, and you think, Adam, you're taking the mick here, mate. He had this like bit of foam across my lip here and another bit there with these big green glasses, and then blacked out my face. And was it Marcus said I looked like Trevor McDonald on acid? So you got to try and work under these conditions, you know what I mean? But the music is banging, and Adam's vision is wicked. So you know at the end of the day how it's going to look. It's going to look wicked no matter what. So it's a really cool thing to do. It's a good process, and seeing this, the end of this is like amazing. So yeah, it's cool. Rock on.
It's not me, and I don't go on tour anymore. I go to rehearsals and then check in. But there's an amazing man called Riccardo Lorenzini that does the lights and the visuals live. So we've got a load of things set up that happen, but then he reacts to the crowd. Mostly he reacts to the music and what's happening. And what's lovely is that things happen. You know, Tom Willard will bring something in, and then they'll pull it out, and Rick will respond to that and start flashing with it or going with it, and then they'll pull it out, and he'll kind of keep going sometimes, you know. So it's like this other instrument in a way, isn't it? But yeah, very much keeping that feel. I mean, it's something that both Tom and Ed have always said of like, we don't want it just to be rigidly perfect. Otherwise it's boring. There's nothing alive about it. So it has got a very live element, but sometimes that was frustrating in the editing process, because it's like, why's Rick done that? You know, because we only shot Fuji Rock. You know, that's the only gig we shot. So we were, you know, I was like, why has he brought the birds out at that point? Because he flashes the screen in and out, and we've got a whole bank of lights that are behind the screen that we feed kind of movies into. And he flashes between that, and there's certain moments that are missing, and I was cursing. I was phoning him up, just going, Rick, what are you? But he's amazing, Riccardo. He's incredible. He's I'm not saying he is brilliant. But you know. Yeah, it did start raining halfway through, and it was there are actually a few shots of cameramen sort of wiping their lenses, because it was sort of ended up being in time with the music. And one of the editors, John O'Griffith, was like, that's nice, isn't it? I was like, yeah, it is actually. It's quite nice. But also that I have to confess that some of that rain is fake. So we had some in some shots. So we put more in, and we put the thunder in as well. I think they call it magic realism, don't they? Yeah, it was essential part of it, and so it's the moments when they're connecting with each other I loved as well, and I didn't realise quite how much of a laugh they were having up there. You know, it's like, oh right, okay, you know. But also just seeing, as you say, you don't, when you go and see them live, you know, there's a big old screen, there's a lot of lights, and you know, you don't see enough of them, and that's why it was great in this, seeing them. You know, there's particular moments in the film where Tom is just, you know, he's living, breathing, emanating, you know, the music, and making it at the same time, and it's just, yeah, there's a hell of a performance going on there, and yeah, so that was lovely to see, I think, and nice for people that haven't seen it. I don't think, but you didn't know, did you, that how much people didn't see? Tom and Ed, I don't think, knew quite how much they weren't being seen. They were like, did no one know that we were doing that? We always do that. And it's like, no, I don't think they did. No, brilliant. I think, I mean, there's all sorts of things. There's this projection mapping that some of you might have seen where you can really make kind of architectural spaces really come alive. That's really interesting. You know, 3D stuff's interesting. And also, you know, this idea that that maybe the gig could become this almost immersive, or one of the versions of the gig could become this more immersive experience where you're absolutely surrounded by visuals, and maybe some of the visuals are coming to life. You know, you can ask my dad and my nephews to come along and mark and tap people on the shoulder, and you get a clown behind you. Or actually, people have started turning up at the gigs as clowns. But and also some of those, even though there's all that big technology stuff, there's also, if you saw the talk earlier, there's very simple kind of basic ideas going on that fancy equipment. They'd probably be horrified, the people that make it, doing such ordinary stuff. When we got when it all actually was going to happen, the film, I went to one of the gigs in I can't remember, somewhere in Europe, and usually I'm watching the show from the front, and I actually made the point of going right down in the middle, and I'm so glad I did, because it was so amazing, and just getting thrown around and just seeing, and that the influence of that came out a lot in the film. But while we were filming, I was actually in an outside broadcast truck with 15 Japanese men, saying, "Okay, yeah, that camera needs to do that," and translator would say, "That camera needs to do that," and then the director would go to the cameraman, "That camera needs." You missed it. Yeah. Okay. But no, they were brilliant. They weren't quite sure how to. I was like, when we were briefing them, I was like, because there was 9 cameras as part of the Fuji TV that were always there, and then we brought loads of other cameras. But we had this brilliant meeting when we were briefing the Japanese crew, and we were told that we had to have business cards made up, and you have to present your business card with 2 hands, and we did all this. And bless Lee, the producer, he went to all this trouble to get these business cards made, and they just cracked up when we did it. They were just like, "We do it," you know. But we tried, you know. And then they looked very, you know. I was like, for Hey Boy, Hey Girl, because the camera work in the visuals is frenetic and kind of shaking camera and zooms and stuff. And I was like, you know, for this we need to absolutely just shake the cameras like mad and zoom in and out. And it doesn't matter if it's in focus, out of focus, just feel it. And they were just kind of like, and some of the footage that came back from that was these very tentative, polite zooms that were like, it's like, no, come on, you know. And but no, they were really sweet. And then it was, you know, it was brilliant. I think Ash is here tonight, and hopefully Ian, and Ash filmed the wonderful man with the shaved eyebrow, who we still don't know who that is. Who I'm sure when Block Rocking Beats comes on, he looks up, and I'm not I've asked people to translate what he says in Japanese. They can't get it, but I'm sure it's something like "Thank you, God," because he just looks so happy, you know. And Ash filmed him. So we had 4 little 5D cameras out in the audience that were just on audience members, and had notices in Japanese saying, "Please don't look in the lens, just ignore us." And they were so just amazing, that audience. They were so wonderful, and they're such, you know, massive fans, obviously, of the band. Yeah. I'd be lying if I'd said it wasn't a bit of a happy accident, but there's a big connection. Chemical Brothers have played there 6 or 7 times, and you know, and have seen it become this bigger festival. And so there's a personal connection there. I think it's the only festival that you go and say, "Oh, we want to get there early," apart from Glastonbury. You know, that's a lot of festivals that they play. So. It just seemed, it seemed right, and I'm so glad it ended up being that, because there's a real, I just don't think we'd have got that sort of reaction. The audience would have been as accommodating anywhere else. You know, you'd have been sworn at in England, I think, or things would have been said about your mother or something unpleasant. And whereas there, you know, people are just so accommodating, and there's this sense of wonderment there, you know, that's really refreshing in such a kind of cynical world, you know, and that sounds, it's not meant to sound patronising, it's meant to sound as an absolute something that I kind of aim for, you know, for a cynical head that's going, well, you know, to actually, it's inspiring to see that sort of childlike wonder, which again sounds, but anyway, I think I know what I mean.